review of the week's markets at 8:30 in the morning, all on WHOW AM, FM, and streamed online.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today is Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. Jay, always good to see you, my friend. You doing well?
I sure am, as good as can be expected when we got like hot and weather conditions and random storms that come through, but it's all good.
You're gonna have a cool down, it feels like, here over the next few days, so that'll be nice for some of your animals.
And while it was heralded by that big storm that hit the city pretty hard yesterday, I know the parks team is still working on recovery from a lot of trees down and damages with that. The zoo came through, we got all our sensitive animals in, but we'll take a few days of cool after the last few weeks.
No doubt. When you get big storms like that, do you have to do anything with your animals or collection or anything of that nature?
Depends on the nature. Like if we know there's going to be, for example, significant hail, really high winds, or tornadoes, like we bring in as many species and lock them in as we can. If it's just kind of your general summer thunderstorms and that, most of them can stay out, but like we'll bring in the flamingo flock because, while their wings are clipped, a good gust of wind can still pick them up and put them in the cemetery across the road and that. So we do take any of the most sensitive ones or the ones that could be affected by weather and secure them as best we can for their safety.
Very good. Very good. Well, Jay, let's dive into, I know that we caught up a bit about this in the before we came on, and you're excited about some construction out on the front of the zoo that is going to really make your entryway kind of pop in a way. How about this?
So I will tell you, from when I first interviewed here, I've been here almost 3 years now. When I first interviewed and I came in and they brought me to the zoo, there was between the pillars at the front entry, there was just a banner, and a banner hung up. It's got our snow leopard on it that says, welcome to Miller Park Zoo. And my brain is like, oh, well, they must be doing something that looks very temporary. Well, it was not temporary. Apparently that has always kind of been the welcome to Miller Park Zoo entry. And so it has been on my project list and my bucket list here to really design like an entry sign so that when people pull into Miller Park, they know where the zoo is. They're like, wow, look at that sign. That's so great. It's really that sense of arrival. And the last 2 years, I've been working on designs, working with parks, different people, and everybody knows this has been a passion project. And last year, I had the budget scheduled for it. And then there were some changes and some things we had to deal with, some overages, and that got drained out. The Zoological Society saw how important this was to me. And, when I'd reported that, we'd had kind of these budgeting issues, they stepped up and actually committed $20,000 to the project, which allowed us to move forward with designers. So Prairie Signs here in the Bloomington Normal area stepped up. They've helped us design it to the parameters. They gave us some great choices, some renderings. You guys can actually see that on the social media right now. The city, the zoo has posted about that. But construction and groundbreaking has gone underway. The metal sign is being fabricated. It's going to be some giant zoo letters. It's all going to be lit up. It's going to be great. Wow. I'm so excited because it seems like such a little thing, but it's such a change for the zoo. It's going to really let people know that they're here. It's going to be a photo opportunity. And it's going to feel permanent and important. And I love that.
Yeah, sure. Now, I guess, is it like going to be kind of an archway and you enter through it? Or I guess what's it? And I haven't checked out the rendering, so forgive me. I'm kind of asking things I can just look up.
When you come in to the parking lot, there's like this big open space that was just asking for something. And it's a big open, just grass space right before you would walk up the sidewalks to the zoo entrance. And so we scouted out that space, and what we're doing is we are creating a landscaping opportunity and some walkways through there. And there'll be like very much the city of Bloomington, the style of pedestal and base that you see in all of the Welcome to Bloomington park signs. But then beyond that, instead of kind of one of the standard ones, there will be 4-foot high solid metal letters. They will be painted. Each letter will be in one of our zoo colors, but they are big and robust. The whole thing will end up being like 6+ feet tall. Kids can stick their head through the O, get pictures taken. It's going to be really bright and dynamic, and you have to walk past it to and from in. It's just you're going to pull into the parking lot and you're going to know exactly where the zoo entrance is. And I'm really excited.
There you go. There you go. So you said the city has stepped up to help pay for some of this. Zoological Society as well. Did I remember that right, or did I hear that right?
Yep. So the Zoological Society committed $20,000 to the project. That allowed us to start the fabrication of the metal with our partners at Prairie Signs.
Mhm.
And then the city, the Parks Department, they've been doing all of the landscaping. We're making sure that the lighting is in place, any of the plantings around. Like, we're making sure all the resources are being committed to actually getting the rest of the project done. So once we get those giant metal letters, it'll all be ready to be installed. So it's a real joint project between the society and the city and parks, and I'm living for it.
When do you anticipate that'll be done?
They have built the forms. The concrete's going to be poured possibly in the next couple of days. They anticipate the metal fabrication and the signs may be done by the end of July, beginning of August. So I'm really hoping, maybe by the time we touch base next month, that it will all be completed. So that's my hope, is early mid-August.
Sure. Sometimes best laid plans, though, right?
I know. Well, hey, it took me 3 years to get this far, so I'm going to keep crossing my fingers and going.
Was that a priority for you?
It's people are going to well, why with the zoo? Why is it a priority? But an AZA accreditation isn't just about how we care for the animals. Maintaining an accredited zoo is also like culture. It's also representing modern zoological practices, and it's aesthetics. And to me, it didn't reach that standard by having an aged banner flapping kind of out in the wind that we then had to tie to the fence because the wind kept tearing it down. And I'm like, we can do better than this, and we should do better than this. And so it was important to me. And while it's one of those things that seems odd when you visit a place that, it's not as impactful, and then you come to some place where you're like, oh, wow, did you see that entrance? That was so cool. Let's go get our picture taken there. That already starts your visit off on a foot where you're excited and you're glad to be there. And that's the tone I really wanted to set for the zoo. So sure. I'm glad we've got this opportunity now.
Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington, our guest on the Zoom today. So looking forward to that. I wonder, Jay, is there an update on the carousel? I joked about best laid plans. That's kind of what I was referencing. I don't mean to take a dig at you.
No, it's fine. It is an ongoing saga. The society. So of course the carousel is owned by the city, but the society, they did take that on as the project of greatest need for their fundraising campaign, and had funded that. So it was all dismantled, and we did have it sent off for restoration. We've received a number of photos. I think at this point we're kind of assuming that the project itself was larger for a full restoration than maybe the contractors had been prepared for. They are continuing to work on it. We get periodic updates from them. I know the society has been reaching out directly and trying to get kind of a better handle on a timeline. Our original hope, like you said, best laid plans, had been the end of May. We're still kind of waiting to hear if we can get a commitment for when that will be able to come back and be fully installed. But it really is, when you watch them take it apart, not only was it every piece and every panel, it was every light bulb, every piece of the pole, the animals. It was a big deal. So I can understand how it was a large project. So the society is trying to coordinate that right now and see if they can navigate through the contract, when that might be coming back, because it's also such an important piece. I know a lot of the community, I heard people asking the other day as they were just walking through the zoo, I wonder when that's coming back. So you hit me there, the best laid plans. That's the one that's gone a little askew for us.
Yeah, well, and it's one of those things. Gosh, you hope for it, and it just kind of keeps getting kind of kicked down the road. But once you get it back up, it'll be real exciting for sure. So
well, and when you're basing on estimates, because our carousel had been in place for years, a couple of decades. It was worn, it needed a lot of attention. And it's always you look at something, you're like, oh, we estimate it'll take this much time and this much resources to get that fixed. And then those may have also been, slightly underestimated possibly, or the work was, more comprehensive than necessary. I don't know all the details of this one. I haven't been in touch with them directly myself as much, but like you said, the vision is it'll be back. We'll have a carousel, and it'll be there for the community again soon.
Very good, Jay. Well, speaking of hot weather, we talked about the weather at the beginning. We've had some really warm days. How have your animals handled it? How's your staff handled it? How's everybody doing?
So I think this time around, the animals have handled it better than the staff. I think the humidity this year and some of the things have really taken a toll. And oddly, especially on some of our younger team members, we do have interns, we do have some junior zookeepers that are always helpful at the zoo. And this summer, I think we've kind of taken a bit of a beating in that. We've had kind of just some heat stress and some things, but we always deal with it. We've compensated by always making sure we have water stations. We've got we bring electrolytes on board. It was actually a zoo board member who donated directly. We purchased a number of fans, industrial size fans, that we've installed around the zoo in work areas and in staff areas. So we're really doing all we can to make sure that we keep it a safe and comfortable environment. And as always with the animals, it's kind of tough, I think, for people to understand, because people will still come out when it's 95 degrees. But it is a rare species of animal that is active in that kind of temperature. So they've usually gone to shade. They're tucked into a hole somewhere where it's cooler. And so I think sometimes people need to understand and recognize that, while you might also want a siesta, that's exactly what most of these species are doing too. So they're doing okay. We got them under control.
Is there a species of animals that just cannot handle this heat, and you've got to either bring them in or create, special accommodations, anything of that nature?
Our two primary ones are the snow leopard, Sage, and then our red panda. Sage's enclosure is pretty enclosed by, the big, kind of rock walls he's got, and he's got a huge tree in there, so he stays really shaded, but we'll give him access inside. We'll give him fans and everything he needs so that he has the choices of where he can go, so he can find the coolest and most comfortable spot. The red panda, China, she has multiple locations. She is under a giant tree, so there's a lot of shade there. She has a huge fan with a mister attached to it. You'll usually see her plunked in front of that, kind of getting drenched and stuff, but with the water and the cool air. But she also, per AZA requirements, in her, most guests don't notice, but there's a holding box onto the back, a little den in the building she can go into, and we have an air conditioning unit attached to that. So if it really gets bad out at any time, she can go into that little box, and she can, lie right in front of an air conditioning unit.
There you go. Nice. Very good. Well, Jay, I look at the clock. Let's take a break. Come back with some more. Best way for folks to follow along with all things Miller Park Zoo.
As always, for the most current, it's going to be our social media, our Facebook and our Instagram. There's the webpage we've been updating on the City of Bloomington site, and the Zoological Society has both a webpage and social media as well.
That is Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. My guest on the Zoom. More to come with Jay on the morning show.
WHOW.
Here's Clinton Civil Lot owner Dave Jackson on how he monitors prices to help you save money.
I look and see what retail they are at, and I make that decision whether it is a key item or a mid-tier item as far as importance goes, and I make sure I'm either below or close. And in most cases, I try to go below.
Dave and his staff helps you save up to 40% on your grocery bill every day at your locally owned Clinton Save a Lot. And as Dave always says,
hope to see you soon.
Tune in to all of WHOW's platforms on AM, FM, and streamed at IllinoisFarmRadio.com for live coverage of the DeWitt 4-H Fair featuring 4-H'ers from DeWitt, Piatt, and Macon counties, the Farmer City Fair, and reports from the Illinois State Fair this summer. Our coverage is brought to you by our title sponsor, Apex Clean Energy, growing a better future for local farmers and landowners in our local communities, along with Longview Community Bank, Warner Hospital and Health Services, and Gibson Ace Hardware, all in Clinton, and Macon County Farm Bureau, where membership means value. The State Bank of Bemen in Bemen and Monticello, and Maroa Ag in Maroa, your growing partner every step of the way. Read all the results from judging at the DeWitt 4-H and Farmer City Junior Fairs by clicking the fair results icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Netflix buffering, YouTube spinning, devices not connecting, Zoom calls dropping. It's frustrating. Let's end your frustration by signing up for fiber internet in Clinton. Click the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today, Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. And Jay, I'm sure folks are excited. A new exhibit a new habitat has been unveiled, the sloth habitat. How about that? New item, I guess.
So this is one we, again, like the carousel we were just discussing last year, when the society asked for my recommendation for the project of greatest need for the funding. And keep in mind, while they are always fundraising on our behalf over the course of a year, we have those three primary fundraisers, Stampede, Bruise, and then Zoodoo, which will be coming up in September. And so they identify a project that funds can be raised to go. And last year it was for a new sloth habitat. We had been offered an opportunity to bring in a Lynn's two-toed sloth, and we wanted to be able to create that space. And so we were able to commit to bringing in the animal. They came to us from the Zoos New England, Taco did. And so we brought Taco in, we brought her into quarantine. And then meanwhile, we had worked with, and PJ Hare had accepted the construction contract, and we were able to, in our rainforest, take the one end of the building and just mesh in and build this really high, really wide, big open, meshed open air habitat for the sloth.
Mm-hmm.
We got it all perched. We got it all ready, some places for her to hide and get into, like when she would want to go. Sloths, being canopy dwellers, are going to go up as high as they can. And then we had a grand ribbon cutting that was hosted by the society, and we had the mayor, we had city council, we had board members present, we had donors, significant donors to the habitat. It was a great morning event. And it has been, for one of the most boring animals I've ever met, they are interesting when it comes to facts. They have got so many cool features, sloths themselves, that they've evolved. But she spends a lot of time hanging around, sleeping in her pot. But everybody, let's go see the sloth. They are so excited that we have Taco. So
yeah,
you know what? It's been great.
That's awesome. Good deal. So that's probably bringing folks out, I'm sure. And that's what you want to do, right? You want to keep it fresh. You want to keep people coming out for whether it's something new or just something different. You want to keep them coming out for those things.
Well, that's exactly it. And I mean, when we've touched on, like, a lot of our zoo has focused on some South American species, like our anteaters, our Galapagos tortoises. And so this is another kind of piece of that. So it's a rainforest species, South American. It tells a story, and they're instantly recognizable. People really enjoy them and love them. And we could do it well and properly in that building. So it was a good opportunity.
Very good. Very good. Well, Jay, let's finish up our conversation today talking about master planning and refreshing the master plan at the zoo. Where does this process stand? What's the latest?
So hopefully folks will remember that we actually did assign and award the contract. It was to the Lamar Johnson Collaborative. They have been working with us, and this is separate. So there's two master plans right now. There's the Miller Park master plan that had been engaged before. They'll work hand in hand, but the Miller Park Zoo master plan through LJC, we have started working with them. They had sent us some surveys. So internally, for staff, stakeholders, and city, initially, we've been generating, and we filled out some surveys. They did actually come last week and visit. It was their first on-site visit, and we were able to get them, all of our teams meet, answer some questions, provide clarification, and get an overall sort of insight into the feedback. This is what's going to form the next steps, which will be engaging the community. So the next steps will be, how are we going to form public-facing surveys and a campaign where, our community can come and they can join in and either fill out surveys online, participate in some activities either in the park or at the zoo themselves, and really get involved in the process for what does the future of Miller Park Zoo mean to and look like for the community.
Yeah. So when you think about master planning, Jay, I mean, is it all facilities? Is it all infrastructure things, or is there like programming? Is there outreach? How about some of those things?
So honestly, they touch on all of that. For us, a lot of it is going to be, so the sloth habitat is a good example of where we, in our little small footprint, is the second smallest accredited zoo, can try and do a smaller species really well. And that's what we want to continue on. We want to have that impact with new habitats, and those will be in the plan. How can we use our existing space and maybe creep out into the park a little bit? better, but a lot of it is, how do the roads work so people have a better experience? And like, our zoo honestly has at least 1, 2, 3 dead ends where people have to double back. And that's really uncommon now in zoos and zoo design. So how will that work with new buildings, road pathways, but education? What do our education centers look like? How do we hold our animal ambassadors, and so that for outreach or for programming? And then what can and how can programming evolve and change because we now have these opportunities? So it's all up for grabs, but a lot of it is going to be based on staff and community input as to what do they want to see and what would they like from the Miller Park Zoo in the future.
When does that wrap up, and when do you start getting into the kind of nitty gritty of putting this together and creating yourself that roadmap for the future?
So they had put out an agenda, and again, with this one's not best laid plans. We're still on track and whatever else, but there will be like meetings and surveys. And so this is going to continue on into the new year. I know we have some sort of wrap up and, final drafting meetings scheduled for like January and the like. So the next few months is really going to be that data gathering and planning phase where everyone is involved. And my hope is the old school kind of method for zoo master plans was like, here's a plan. We're going to work on this in the next 12, 15 years. We'll try and stick to it. My goal with working with them and for the community is like, we want to have measurable bites. Like, we want to have a new overall plan, but measurable bites and priorities based on feedback, needs, AZA accreditation requirements, so that when we're working with the city for budgeting or the society for fundraising for capital campaigns, we have those measurable goals that coincide with it. So really, and they know that that's kind of my vision for this, and they're really good and they're involved, and we'll look forward to getting the community involved too.
You want those things to be practical. You don't want to have your head in the clouds.
I don't want to plan that we're looking that somebody else comes along or looks at, or you ask me 10 years down the road, like, how much of this did you implement? I'm like, we didn't do any of that. It's like, we're spending so much time and engagement. It would be a shame to have that. So I really want to approach this in a way that we know that we can put our money where our mouth is.
Jay, always good to talk to you. Jay Pratte, Executive Director of the Miller Park Zoo, our guest. Network News is now.